Welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur, where we talk to the entrepreneurs who are making it happen across Canada and deliver the news, trends, knowledge, and opinions from entrepreneurs and business influencers across the country. Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today on Calgary's podcast is James Teague, who is founder and CEO of My Everything Store. Thanks, James, for joining us today.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Let's just start by just tell me a little bit about what is My Everything Store.
All right. So, My Everything Store started 5 years ago, and we're basically the Amazon of medical supplies. So, we are an e commerce only platform where we sell medical supplies West Coast to East Coast. And it's everything from catheters, ostomy, enteral feeding products, and we sell direct to consumer. So we are selling directly to the end user who buys the products. And yeah, it's been running for 5 years and just keeps growing.
Tell me a little bit of the history here. How did this start and why?
That's a great question. Basically, I've been using medical supplies for 33 years after an accident of mine. And after shopping at the one, big box store vendor for 27 years, I just got tired of the service. I knew I could do something better, and I have an entrepreneurial mind. So I thought, put that to work and said, hey, I can build something better, faster, more convenient for people, because I used to have to get in my vehicle and drive down to the store to pick up my medical supplies once a month. And as you can imagine, being in a wheelchair in Calgary, wintertime, not an easy thing to do, right? So we deliver to your door, typically next day. So it's super fast, super convenient, and yeah, I just knew I could do a better job, so I started my store.
So, when you look at and I'm just wondering your reach, like how far afield do you go in your sales and through this?
Yeah, so we're like I say, we're West Coast to East Coast as far as our demographic is concerned, and sales are everything from catheters, like say ostomy, enteral feeding.
And do you go to the States at all? No.
No, we stay away from the U.S., especially now.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you never know
Yeah,
what's going on with that.
yeah.
Yeah. As this, I'm just curious. Also, I'm always curious about the names of companies. Like, how'd you come up with My Everything Store?
Great question. So when I started this business, I knew absolutely nothing about e-commerce. I had never ran a retail business before. I knew nothing. So what did I do? I jumped on Amazon and I started reading every book I could find on the guy that knows everything about e-commerce, Mr. Jeff Bezos, and Amazon. And Amazon's nickname used to be called the Everything Store.
Oh,
And so it's not an official name, but they were quoted as the Everything Store every once in a while. And so
huh.
I thought, well, okay, well, this is not the Everything Store because we don't sell everything. We sell medical supplies. So it's my Everything Store. So, when people are talking about, well, where do you buy your medical supplies? Well, I buy from My Everything Store. And it's easy for people to remember. It's catchy and there's that familiarity with it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, what were you doing before this?
Well, I actually own another company. I own a private investigation firm.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah. So I've been running that business for 10 years now. And 5 years ago, I started this one. So I run both of them.
oh, wow, wow. That must be that's always you always watch the TV shows, right? And the PI firms or whatever. But I remember one year there was a guy in Calgary that had a firm that wanted to hire me because he just thought that reporters were great. Or it would be great as PI people, right? And
I had to ask questions,
yeah, and the funny
right?
I remember during my days at the Herald.
I was one of my beats was the crime, and
Mhm.
a lot of cops telling myself and a couple of colleagues that, hey, you guys would make good detectives, right? Not a feel out of like,
Yeah.
how did you get involved with that? Like doing that?
Yeah, well, prior to that, I worked in the insurance. I've worked in the insurance industry for years,
Oh,
and all insurance companies have it's like an in-house private investigation department. They call it a special investigation unit.
yeah.
Yeah, so I worked in that for years, and then so I wanted to go out on my own. So I had quite an advantage because I knew everybody in the industry with all the different companies, all the different insurance companies, because we all kind of coordinated our efforts and worked together. And so when I hung up my shingle, I didn't do any marketing or advertising. I just said, "Hey, I've got my own firm now," and files just started coming in.
Oh wow, yeah. So you know, when you look at your My Everything store, what kind of response are you getting from people, like and feedback are you getting from people uh, for what you're doing?
Oh, it's remarkable. We have people that are in their 90s shopping on there, and they are saying, like, I can't believe this service exists. I just go on there, I click on the product, fill out my information. It gets sent to my, it's sent to my door automatically. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. One of the things that we have as well too is an automatic reorder system. So if you order your medical supplies on a month-to-month basis and it's the same products, you just set it and forget it, and it just shows up to your door every month at the same time, and people love it. And where we have a huge advantage, and again, this is going back to Jeff Bezos and the Amazon days. Brick and mortar stores can't have every single product SKU that there is. Like, we have 9,000 SKUs on our store right now, and we have access to another 140,000 product SKUs. So there's no brick and mortar store anywhere that can have that many product SKUs sitting on the shelf. It's just physically impossible. So we operate very, very much like Amazon, where we're connected to all the different distributors. So even if we have a product that the person puts the order in through, we can check every single one of the distributors in Canada, figure out which one has it, and have it shipped out directly to them.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole e-commerce thing, right, is took off as a matter of convenience for a lot of people, right? But think about it, like for people with disabilities, that's it's become even more critical and crucial for them to have this kind of entity out there, right?
Oh, it is. It's absolutely for sure. And if you're a busy person, you're a busy professional. If you are a caretaker, like a mom and dad, or like a brother or son, father who's taking care of an elderly parent that needs the medical supplies, that's just one more thing you don't have to worry about is, okay, oh, I got to remember to order dad's supplies. And I can't even tell you how many phone calls we get where we get a panicked son or daughter. My dad's running out of supplies. Oh my God, I forgot to order, can you get us supplies like, tomorrow kind of thing. That happens quite often. So, it's a really, really great service for people just and on so many levels.
Yeah. Can you talk about your experience? And you mentioned an accident. Tell us a little bit about that and what happened.
Yeah, so I had a car accident 33 years ago, ended up um, destroying my spine, so I ended up paraplegic. And then through that, and 33 years ago, things were vastly different than they are now. It was basically, well, this is what a catheter is. Here you go use it, and have a nice day and best of luck to you. It's a lot different nowadays, where there's peer support groups, there's online support groups, there's all of those different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a challenge for a lot of years. And what really pushed me over the edge to start this company was I was getting a lot of recurring bladder infections through the catheter that I was using. And so I went to my supplier that I've been with for 27 years, and I said, I need to try these different no-touch catheters that are out there so I can, stop these infections from coming. And they said, well, if those are really, a lot more expensive. So if you want those, you're going to have to buy a box. And I said, come on. I said, I've been, a loyal customer for 27 years. You're not going to give me some samples for free? And they said, no, we're not going to do that. That's when I was like, okay, you know what? I can do something better. Right. And so, yeah, I changed over to those new catheters, and, knock on wood, I haven't had a bladder infection in 5 years.
Yeah. Tell me just a little bit about your experience, with on this journey, with the disability. What do you think you've learned about life in general? I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a different perspective, right? It's a very different look in the world. Not to mention the fact that I sit down, but you see things differently. And as I always tell people that are newly injured or anybody that's struggling, you're when you're in a wheelchair and you have a disability, you're almost like an on the spot engineer. You have to engineer things and figure out things on
Mm,
the fly.
yeah.
Like if I'm going somewhere and all of a sudden I need to be able to get into the bathroom, and all of a sudden I can't fit through the doorway. Okay, now what am I going to do? So you have to be able to think quickly and be able to adapt to your environments. I remember going to a party one time. This was many, many years ago when I was going to parties and out all night. I came up to a situation where I literally couldn't get through the doorway. So I was like, well, I got to go to the bathroom. It was a big bathroom, but it was a tiny little door. So I called over one of my buddies and I said, hey, pop off my wheel, take my one wheel off,
Uh,
push me through the doorway, and then pop my wheel back on. And he was like, yeah, we can do that. So that's what we did. Got me into the bathroom and same, reverse on the way out. So that's one of the things that you really do have to it's kind of like an engineering on the fly. You have to figure things out.
and speaking of which, being an entrepreneur, like how's that been for you as a journey?
Oh, it's like all the entrepreneurs. It's almost kind of like being manic, right? Like, you can be super excited and it's everything, you're top of the world, by 10 o'clock in the morning, and by noon, you're just like, oh my word, what's going on? This is, and it's just constant up and down, up and down, up and down. But the thing I love about it is, you're solving problems for people. You're fixing things, right? And a lot of times, I hear like, oh, the government needs to fix this or the government needs to fix that. Governments don't fix things, right? It's entrepreneurs, right? That see a problem. They're like, you know what? I can do better. I can fix this. I can develop a product or I can develop a service that's going to help people. And that's super rewarding. It is stressful for sure. It is not for everybody. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, I really want to be an entrepreneur. And it's like, well, you might really want to look at that before you jump in, and it can be incredibly rewarding, but it can also be incredibly stressful for sure.
Yeah. How do you deal with that stress as an entrepreneur? And knowing the fact that most people who are entrepreneurs are almost always working, right? If they're not like physically working on what they're doing, they're working up here on the business, right? Like how
Yep.
do you stand back?
Great question. Yeah. And for me, it's, I don't know. I can't not. I'm one of those people that can't not work. I tried taking a vacation here about 9 years ago, and after the first week, I was like, "Oh, I really want to. I need to get back to work. Like, I can't really turn that off." And for me, it's not really work. So I don't look at it, like in the work, because I love what I do with my PI firm, with my everything store. I love both those companies, love what I do. But as far as stress relief is concerned, like of course I work out, take, go for walks with my wife and our dog. That's important. Weekends is spent with my wife and friends and family and having barbecues and kind of turning off. But you never turn it off, right? You're never really turning it off, especially if you have an entrepreneurial mindset. I can't go anywhere without saying, "Oh, geez, you know what? If I could solve that problem. I could start a company and solve that problem." My wife's always like, slow down. You got two already. You're good to go for now. Just
Exactly, right? Yeah.
yeah.
It's important, right? I think that's one of the biggest problems with entrepreneurs that they don't know when to turn it off and kind of I kind of relax and maybe feed your soul or feed that other part of you that needs to need some rest and relaxation.
Mhm.
You know what they say, going 100 miles per hour, you're going to end up burning out, right?
That's right.
And so what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur? What would you tell him or her?
Oh, hands down, don't go it alone. If you can start off with a partner or two,
Yeah.
co-founders, without question, that is definitely something that I would really strongly suggest because when you're, they say, number one's the loneliest number.
Yeah.
When you're by yourself and you got a problem and you turn and go, oh, there's nobody there, right? There's nobody to ask advice to, so if you have founders, and co-founders, you have at least to have people to bounce stuff off of and go, hey, what do you think? What do you think of this? What do you think? The other piece of advice would be, try and find a mentor, somebody that's been there, done that. That is not an easy road, right? Because if you got somebody that's a very successful business person, they're busy, they're running their businesses, there's a lot of multiple business owners as well, and really you have to learn every aspect of the business. You have to learn accounting, even though you might not like it. I am horrible with the numbers. Ask my wife and ask my accountant. Ooh, between the two of them, they almost have a heart attack. But find, like, know your strengths and hire soon. Hire soon for the skills you don't have. And then that way you can kind of focus on what you do really well, and that will help you immensely in the long run for sure.
Yeah. Now, when you look, I'm just curious. Like I know you're based in Calgary, but being an e-commerce company is really all over the place. But uh, do you see any like benefits or what are the positives of having a business that's based in Calgary?
Oh, I love Calgary. I love Calgary, and I mean, it's really because we're e-commerce. I could literally be living in
Yeah.
Italy, But as far as Calgary is concerned, I don't think I would want to live anywhere else. It's just such a great city, and with the time zone differences, it's not such a big deal, because we deal with a ton of companies in the U.S. as far as providing services and that kind of thing. We always support Canada if we can, but of course, there's like some huge companies that are in the U.S. that we have to use, like Google for one. But yeah, I wouldn't live anywhere else other than Calgary.
Now, what do you? I'm just curious. Are you involved in any like entrepreneur groups or anything like that? Small business groups or anything like that?
No, no, not at the moment. I've got a couple of irons in the fire for that here locally. There's a couple of entrepreneur groups and CEO groups that are kind of grooming me to come on board with them. And then, but yeah, other than that, I have been pretty much solo on my own since the beginning.
Yeah. Any beyond your Bezos? Is there anybody else that you looked at and how they did business that kind of helped you along the way?
Yeah, I have literally, I am just a voracious reader. I read like 2 hours a day. So I read every book on Elon Musk, on
Oh,
uh, Bill Gates, on every book I can find on every successful business person that there is. I've read every book I can find on them.
wow.
And yeah, and literally taking notes on well, and how did they do this and how did they do that, and now when it comes to, with AI now being so prevalent with everything, I've had to jump into that end of the pool and
Well,
figure out AI now.
yeah. When you look at all those people, um, is there a common thread?
Curiosity.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's curiosity. It's like, okay, well, and there that inquisitive, like how, okay, why is this being done this way? Why is that being done that way? Or why is this not being done this way? They ask they ask more questions than they give, advice on, kind of thing. They ask questions. And that's where I think a lot of really successful entrepreneurs, succeed, is by asking the right questions and by asking a lot of questions.
Interesting. Well, on that note, we'll end. And
Okay.
you taking the time, James. That was excellent.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, that was James Teague, who is founder and CEO of My Everything Store. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.